Welcome to the Church of Thomas. Original Christmas, 12/23/07. In most people's minds, Christmas comes in the middle of the winter. There are trees and wreaths. You have a fireplace, you might even have a Yule log. We'll sing funny songs and some religious songs too. We hang mistletoe so we can kiss anyone standing under it. It can make for some very strange encounters at parties, let alone at work. There are presents given to everyone we know. It is now considered a slight not to give a gift to the mail carrier, paperboy, anyone you can barely know. If a gift is not given to every person you interact with, you are considered stingy. Folks with kids will make a trip to have a picture taken of the child sitting on Santa's lap. Kids will write long letters to Santa about how good they were and what they really want for Christmas. We'll read the great tales of Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. It helps assure that the kids will at least try to go to sleep. This, of course, gives us lots of time to struggle with wrapping presents. We try to read Chinese instructions on Indian toys to assemble these special toys. Some of the stories we tell are fanciful ones, like the one with the big fat fellow dressed in red, reindeer, flying sleds, etc. I hear next year Britain will have trimmed down Santas to set a better diet example. I wonder if their bellies will still jiggle. There will be elves that build all the toys. There will even be a magic snowman. Some tales will be about treating people in a generous and compassionate way during this season. Some stories have to do with how the gift of your life being priceless. In today's atmosphere of commercialization, you will be encouraged to spend until it hurts. Don't worry about the massive debt you collect along the way. If every child does not have a dozen gifts, they are considered deprived. Because this is a special time of year to gather with friends and family, the stress can be enormous. If you cannot go to visit family, you are labeled uncaring. If you have lost a loved one, the holiday reminds you of better times. This is the height of suicide season, stretching into the winter when the bills start arriving. There are people who do not have family that welcome them home. They are made outcast by this rejection at this time of year when hearts are supposed to be filled with love for everyone. I've had the fun of seeing how a few other cultures celebrate Christmas. There is not much commercialization in Scandinavia. Germans, on the other hand, seem to take Christmas as a challenge to be more American than the Americans. They even embrace the tooth and nail approach that we take to shopping. This is very serious business. I saw no one smiling. Very sad, if you ask me. While I was in Norway one year, I was introduced to the forerunners of elves. I'll probably mispronounce their names, but here goes. They have little people that are Yuleman's helpers. They are called Nisa. Cute little red and green outfits. They love a kind of mushy rice pudding. I've had it. It's pretty tasty. The ideas most of us associate with Christmas are pagan. I enjoy them, but I do not use them in remembrance of Jesus. They are not customs that I build my worship of God on. For me, it is not the date of Jesus' birth. That was in March. The Romans had the great idea of designate late December as the time when Jesus was born. It was a political expedient. The awful pagans were celebrating winter solstice. This was when bonfires would be lit to help the sun to be reborn. Seemed like a great segue to the Romans. They said it was the sun, S-O-N, that was being reborn, not the bright object in the sky. There were many traditions associated with winter solstice. A green growing tree was brought in along with greenery to hang around the house. Holly was brought in as well as mistletoe. Most people do not know the original reason to hang mistletoe. It was a Druid tradition for fertility. They cut it with a special knife, never letting it touch the ground. It represented semen. In those days, you did not go around kissing everyone in sight. The rite was for pledging for marriage. The couple would kiss under the mistletoe. If they meant to marry come spring, they would pick berries from this sprig of mistletoe and bury them in the earth, thereby vicariously joining the male to the female. These couples were considered promised to each other, engaged, until they were married formally in the spring. It was considered a great blessing if the couple were expecting a little one at the time of the formal ceremony. A Yule log was to keep the light going on the longest night of the winter. It was quite long because it had to be lit before dark and be capable of burning the entire night. As it burned, they kept vigil, pushing it in as it burned down. The person who dragged it in was the head of the household. It was considered horrible luck to have the log finish burning before the sun rose. According to stories, there was a toy maker named Claus. He has many other names. Santa part was added later was because he was called a saint. The toy maker had pity on the children of his community whose parents could not afford a toy. He would give the children a toy in secret. The embellishments were added as the idea spread. The explanations had to be made for the volume of toys built, so the little people native to different countries were enlisted as Santa's helper, like NASA in Norway. A place to hide all the toys became the North Pole. Then there was a delivery problem, along with a magic sled with creatures from the far north to pull it. How does a big fellow like him get into a house unnoticed? Well, at the time, everyone had a chimney, so he came down that way around the bolted doors. Then the idea of getting something for nothing kicked in. So good kids got a toy. Bad kids got a lump of coal. The coal was not very fun, but it was still a gift of warmth in your stove on a cold winter night. I have no problem with being generous during this time of year. I just wish people would see that all the days of the year are days to be generous. The Dickens story about Scrooge is one of my favorites. It illustrates the hole in our lives that develops when you do not have a giving heart. The story encourages Christmas to be a good starting point, but to turn your life around, you must make it a way of life. The other traditional Christmas movie favorite of mine is It's a Wonderful Life. There have been times in my life where hope was scarce. I sometimes wondered if anything I did made a difference. At my lowest points, it seemed that my life was a complete waste of time. When I watched It's a Wonderful Life, I renewed my understanding that I probably had impacted a few folks' lives. Maybe it was still better to keep on plugging along. I decided that maybe one more year would help someone somewhere. I urge everyone to make their lives count. Positively impact someone's life. Be generous, not just with what you have, but who you are. A great lesson of Santa Claus is to give in secret. The wonderment of the gift is much bigger when it is delivered by secret means. Last but definitely not least, remember that quality counts much more in the long run than quantity. To give a gift that is exactly right is priceless in a way that 1,000 not right gifts will never fill. March 15th, I will give a sermon about the birth of Jesus. For the Church of Thomas, March 15th is the day of Jesus' birth. God bless the whole world, no exceptions. Angel Eliza.